Hey guys, welcome to the CSMr podcast. I'm Ken Harper, your host, and today's with me Mike Hall. Mike Hall is a retired Sergeant Major from Regiment. He was the Sergeant Major of JSOC and the Sergeant Major of USASOC. He's currently the Honorary Sergeant Major of the Regiment. Sergeant Major Hall, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Good to see you.
So, Mike, we just wanted to give guys just a rough rundown of what guys do when they leave the military, when they separate. And so one of the things we like to do is just give an example of what people do beyond their service from the third stanza of the Ranger Creed and how they stay mentally alert, physically fit, and morally straight. So what are some things that you do in your civilian life to help you stay mentally alert?
Well, I try to stay involved in a bunch of things that interest me. When I first got out, you can't replicate the kind of people you're around when you're in the military, especially, regiment or battalion. And, you really miss that. Most of us get out and we break contact with that group for a short period of time because we get out, try to reconnect with our families and spend more time there and try to make money and those kind of things. And we sort of, and we lose track of that, an important piece of our life. Not so much the Army or regiment, but the people that you're around. So I tried to stay involved. I got heavily involved more with church things. I got involved in too many things. Had to pull back. Got involved in a bunch of all the veteran organizations, the Ranger organizations and other veterans organizations, and sort of figured out what sort of kind of fit me, and again was a little bit overboard and sort of pulled back, and then I sort of threw myself into my work, whether it's in the Army or outside work, and you can still help people. I mean, if you're helping the company make money, the people in the company, and you're helping them not only to get better, but I mean, if the company's successful, the people be successful, people are happier, people make more money, they drive bigger cars, they have more things to do with their families, they advance, so they'll have more time. So it's really the same thing in the commercial world as it is in the military. You're working to try to make life better for other people, and that's where I found my satisfaction. And you can do that and make money at the same time. I mean, you live the Ranger Creed. You treat people the way you want to be treated, and no matter what organization you walk into, I think people look at that example of what we learned in battalion and how to treat people and live in the creed, and instead of shunning you off, they look at those things and they go, wow, let's start acting like that guy. He knows how to treat people right. He makes people feel good about themselves. He motivates people to do better, and so. You can't change people, but you can help change the environment. And you can't do that by yelling and screaming or cursing or like you're walking around, or many people's perception of the military. You talk to people and you're transparent with them and you're brutally honest, and you show humility when you make a mistake, and that's those kinds of qualities, transparency and humility. They're not as big on in the civilian world as they are, especially in battalion. They're not, and I think as we all know, battalion will humble you no matter who you are, no matter how long you've been there, and it's a great lesson in life. I firmly believe the Ranger Creed wasn't written really necessarily about battalion. It was written about life, and I sincerely believe that, and I believe it applies to the outside world. I really do. And I've tried to apply that and, go back in the truer meaning of it. And I think if you go back to Sergeant Major Gentry and Colonel Lure on what they meant by that. And, because of course it was written in accordance with Abrams' charters to go out and make the Army better, but it was really to make, the Army is a reflection of society. It makes society better. And so, yeah, that's what I believe.
Yeah, that's one thing we try to talk about a lot is Abrams' charter and the creed in general. Just we don't lose that experience that we gained in the Army just because we leave the Army. Yeah. We can still be leaders in the civilian world and guide people and like you said, treat people like you want to be treated and be honest and humble.
Yeah.
What are some things you've done since you've left the military to stay physically strong?
Yeah. Ironically, I retired in 2008 and got out, and I was out for about a year. I was working for Lockheed Martin, doing virtual training, which was brand new at the time. That's how far we've come. And but I kept saying, I'm gonna get in shape and get in shape, get in shape. I'll start working out. And when I did, I didn't really do it hard, and I started putting on a little bit of weight, and I didn't feel good about myself, because physical fitness, and it's not about being a triathlete, but keeping yourself generally physically fit. It's good for your mind. It's good for your body. And I let myself go for about a year. I was asked by General McChrystal to come out of retirement and go back to Afghanistan to be the ISAF CSM for after about a year. And luckily, I walk like about 250 patrols, with guys, and you really have a chance to do PT. But if you're out there walking every single day, with those guys, and I dropped my weight down to what I was comfortable with. And then when after another 15 months, when I did retire, I said, nope, I'm never going back there, because I just didn't feel good about myself. And it wasn't how others looked at me, it was how I felt about myself. So it wasn't about six pack abs or any of that. It was just, that it was part of my identity. And we always, PT is physical, but it's also mental. I mean, we know that in battalion, and that's one of the things that helped me. So I think it's definitely a twofer, and very important to, I think it's very important to mental health, because you look in the, when you're a Ranger, people look at you, Ranger hook, that kind of thing. And when, and I think it's not so much how you look at yourself, but other people look at you, and you sort of want them to know, I think if you're service, they see something, and then they look at your shape and they go, oh, and you feel bad about yourself. So, physical fitness is important to me. I mean, I work out long. I don't work out hard anymore. I'll never get in great shape, because every time I do, something breaks. But it sort of takes me back. I think it connects me to battalion. It connects me to the Army of, doing physical training every single day. It's a connection there that's important.
Well, and I don't even think, like you said, Mike, it doesn't have to be something huge. It can be walking, it can be just getting out and doing something, but not just doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't run anymore. My back is sort of kind of screwed up. I'm not sure what's wrong, or it can't be fixed. But I'm an elliptical maniac. I get on the elliptical. I do the same thing every day. I get up and I do 4 sets of push-ups, about 250 push-ups, and then I jump on the elliptical for about 90 minutes. But I guess the pace is somewhere around 10 minutes, something like that. I mean, ellipticals are all different, but I don't work out hard. I mean, I put my phone up there, and I read, a bunch of stuff, try to keep my mind sharp. I do a lot of trivia and just light news kind of stuff. And if it's hot in the room I'm working out, I'll sweat. If it's not, I won't. But it's, again, it's me time. It's a time to think about a lot of things. It's a time to, delve into things that interest me, and at the same time, keep moving. So it's really good for me. It's a good hour and a half, and where I can be myself. And I'm the kind of guy that, like 95% of the Rangers, most of us are introverts, and sometimes we need that time. We need that time to ourselves.
Yeah. So what do you do to stay morally straight in the civilian world?
You've got to be transparent. You've got to lay yourself out there. You've got to be honest. You got to be who you are. Um, and I saw this phrase somewhere, but it sort of sums up. Maybe it's not a phrase. Maybe I made it up, or maybe it's a combination of things. But you got to treat people the way you want to be treated, no matter how they treat you, and that's hard. It really is, because you see some things that you're the way you were brought up, or the way you are now. You don't want to tolerate. But it's again, treating people the way you want to be treated, no matter how they treat you. And that's a good feeling. you know Most of us will react angrily when we go in those situations, and then you carry it with you. And I do that on occasion, because I can't always control myself. But when I really feel good is when someone doesn't treat me the way I want to be treated, but I treat them the way that I would want to be treated. And then I feel good about it, and it doesn't stick with me. So I mean, that's sort of morally and mentally a a way that I cope with that. And the older I get, the better I get at it. But I know if I let things bother me, or I get in an argument with someone and I don't treat them right, it sticks with me, and it's not good. It's not good mentally. So I just it's not so much forgive and forget, but realize they don't understand me. I don't understand them. They could be having a bad day or a good day. Same things we learned in the Army when we were leaders is, sometimes you got to step back and go, this is usually a pretty squared away dude. I wonder what set him off today. And, sometimes you'll blow up, but then you sit back and go, no, wait a minute, this isn't him. Let's figure this thing out. So it's the same out there, except you just don't have those intimate relationships that you have in the Army.
Well, I think that goes back to, the phrase you said. I think, it's rooted in the Bible, and, love your neighbor as yourself, which is sometimes it's hard to think about, but it's good to think about. And it goes to what you're saying is you want to treat that person the way you want to be treated. And you might be having a bad day, and hopefully they'll have grace for you and be humble on you, and vice versa when they're in that bad situation. So I think that's a good way to think about it. So what are some things that you miss? I know it's been a while since you left regiment, but
Yeah.
what are some things you miss about regiment?
I miss that special bond. As I got out, I got in other organizations, and it's still Army and still good people. I had a short stint in the 101st as a sergeant major of 3187, and I really, really enjoyed that. Guys, that's where I really learned that if you treat people right, they'll do anything you ask of them. You don't have to tell people what to do; they'll do anything you ask of them. But what I miss is, the regiment is, we all have that common bond. We all, at a certain point, it dawns on us that, we're doing this for something bigger than ourselves. And I've never seen that in any other places. And it probably dawned on me more than anything else since I've been out, and we've been working this Ranger for Life program with transitioning guys and talking to mentors. And, I think that's when you see it more than anything else. It's, you got guys from the 70s talking to, a Ranger that's getting out in 2023. The connection is there because they've got the same values. They live by the Ranger Creed. And it's, normally when, you have quote unquote mentors, they're going to help you and give you advice and all that. But with these guys, I mean, they'll have a conversation or a Zoom or a coffee or a beer. And these guys actually work hard, to find these guys opportunities. And I don't think you find that anywhere else. Everybody feels like they have to give back. You don't serve in the regiment. You serve the regiment, and that attitude, which no one really tells us, but again, somewhere along the line, we figured that out, that you don't serve in the regiment, you serve the Ranger Regiment, something bigger than you. And, it truly does carry on, whether you spent a year there, or whether you spent 20 years there, it does carry on.
Yeah, that's been something interesting. I always felt that bond with guys in regiment that I know, but it's been interesting to talking to like the Art Attaways and General Votels and all these people that I didn't necessarily serve with or meet or know. And just to see that level of care when they find out that you were in the regiment at one point, maybe not when they were, but that you were a Ranger, they have, yeah, like you said, Mike, it's something incredible that you can't really describe.
Yeah, a couple guys there. Art's one of my favorite people, an original 175 guy. General Votels in the network, General Garrett, General Helmick, General Bednarik, a bunch of old Rangers. And when a transitioning Ranger is interested in something they're doing, they're going to stop, and they're going to take a half hour or an hour or 2 hours out of their day and talk to this ETSing specialist, to give them the best advice they can, and that's, again, I don't think you see that anywhere. And these are everybody's busy. I want to say these are very busy people, but that's that Ranger bond that, we say, whether you're the newest Ranger or the regimental commander, everybody meets the same standard, and, a Ranger is a Ranger. So, and that's just proof in the pudding of some of the quote unquote senior and most successful Rangers. They're going to give back, whatever they can give back, and they're going. It's an important part of their life that no matter what they're doing, they're going to make that time, and all those. All those folks, will make that time. So it's pretty neat, and it is unique. And I'm not sure, I'm not sure there's any organization out there that's like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about next is just leadership beyond the military, and what that looked like for you. I know you left and you went to Miracle Grow. What are some struggles you had going to the civilian sector and having to deal with employees with like discipline and stuff like that?
Yeah. What you had more than anything else is, people know you're in the service. They may know what Rangers are. They may not, but everybody has preconceived notions about the military. And I don't know if it took me a while, but I'd say it's a constant learning process of realizing that, people don't really understand what we did. Most people, I hate to say most people, I shouldn't say that, but I will. Most people think, the Army is all about, hey, just you do what you're told, and that's it. You're not allowed to think. You just do what you're told. An order is an order. What they don't understand is that's not really true. I mean, whether it's the Army or the outside, people do the truly hard things in life because they respect you, because you've earned that respect, and that's what regiment is really good at. Every leader understands he's got to earn the respect of his Rangers, his peers, and his superiors every single day. So so you overcome that because they think you come from a world that you just tell people what to do. And yeah, I heard that every once in a while. So it was really taking a step back and winning the confidence of people through transparency and being, when you can be really transparent and show true humility with people, they're taken aback and they don't trust you. They don't, because they've never been in a world where it was like that. I mean, the commercial world is very, very competitive. It's for the next job. There's only one job opening, and if I get it, that means you don't get it, and that's all there is to it. And loyalty is a much different thing. So yeah, that was the biggest challenge, was realizing that people didn't understand, our style of leadership and how important it was that, at the end of the day, you have to earn respect of the people you work with, and 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 building that trust. And every time I thought I would build trust, something happened, you realize, well, I ain't quite there. And you could get frustrated about it. You could realize, everybody's product of their experiences, and that's those people that you're working with, they're the product of their experiences. And so you got to meet people where they are. It's just like in the Army. You don't treat every soldier, every Ranger the same. I mean, to a certain degree you do, obviously, but how you motivate people is different with every single guy. And and as it's much more than, some guys you kick in the ass and some guys you pat on the back. I mean, neither one of those work, but it's the in-betweens and over and aboves that really work. And it's the same out there. But again, it's being transparent. It's showing humility. It's being who you are and not trying to be something else. It's the old lessons that walls have ears. Whoever you're talking to and whatever you're talking about, if you're talking to the CEO or you're talking to a fellow employee, whatever your opinion is on that or whatever you think of people, you've got to be able to say it to those same two people. And if you don't, then people realize that. But that's a big part of trust. Is again treating everybody the same, and not talk behind people's back or not talk bad about other people, and just realize that you just got to be honest about it. And so when you do have something that needs to be said to make the organization better or to help people, they understand that you're trying to help them. You're just not trying to put them down or stomp on them, or the old unhealthy competition comes in there. So again, being honest, being transparent, and just like in the Army, if you're talking to a private or you're talking to a peer or you're talking to the general, whenever, you talk to them the same and you give them the same answer. If all three of those groups of people ask you the same question, you give the same answer to all three of those people.
What would you, so I know in regiment, we were very objective, like you said before. It was a standard the same for the new private as it was for the commander and the sergeant major. What advice would you give for a guy that struggles with, when he leaves, going to the civilian world and not having that objective standard where it's the same for everybody, and they get frustrated because their employer wants them to do something but doesn't provide the tools and stuff like that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think it does. And I think it's much like in the Army is, you know, I've always tried to, whether it was in the Army or outside, I've tried to focus my time and my efforts on things that I could affect. And and what I saw in the commercial world more than anything else is a lot of people spend a lot of their time and efforts on things that they couldn't affect because no one ever took the time to say, okay, here's the vision for the company, and here's how it applies to the IT section. The CEO says this, and the people in the IT goes, well, how does that affect us? What are we supposed to do to meet his vision? And that doesn't happen in a lot of places. Taking that commander's guidance, as we call it, and getting it down to the right level, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to do good. They do, but you can't do good if you don't understand what you're supposed to do. And so a lot of it is communicating up that you don't understand, and as in the Army, if you want a good plan, give your boss a plan. And uh, does that work every single time? No, because there's always egos out there. But if you carry yourself a certain way, and you find, I mean, everything's like in the Army, it's all about timing. And you find the right time to say, this is how I think we can do this better, and here's the plan how to do it better, and here's how it can be measured. uh, and just those three critical pieces of, I think we can do better, here's the plan how we can do better, and here's how we're going to measure it. Because very much it's like task condition and standards. Very much in the civilian world, people want to know what the standard is, and if you give them a good standard and you give them the resources, they're going to meet that standard. If you don't give them the resources, they may or may not meet that standard, but they're going to work real hard to do that if you earn their respect every single day. And you have to earn respect up also. You just can't come in and think, I'm an airborne ranger fire team leader and I know everything. You have to again, you have to show humility. You have to understand that you have to understand, just like that. Just like in the Army, you got to realize you always think you're smarter than your boss until you get in his position. You realize, oh, I thought I was going to fix all that stuff, and now I'm here in his position. I can't really fix it. And so taking a step back and realizing that, he may be a good boss, he may be a bad boss, but you don't really realize what he's doing 24/7, what his responsibilities are, where he spends his time, what pressures he's under. So understanding that, yeah, you may be smarter than your boss, but you got to give him that credit of, you really don't understand what he's doing, what he's hearing from his boss, and having that having a little stepping back and not being angry about it, but trying to figure out, what resource constraints is he under, being that he can't, meet the resources that you need. So it's, it's realizing you're always smarter than your boss, but as long as you realize that, you're okay. If you believe you are, that's always an issue. It's an issue. It may be true or may not be true, but it's not a healthy relationship inside the Army or outside the Army.
Do you have advice for a guy that struggles with that? Would it be to focus on yourself and doing better where you're at more than just focusing on the fact that you're better than your boss?
It's focusing on trying to make it's everywhere I was. I think it was a matter of focusing on making the organization better, not focusing on yourself.
Okay.
And that's a little bit foreign to people out there. And yeah, focusing. I think I got dementia coming on, so I repeat things. So I apologize for that. No, but it's focused. It's not overtly, but it's focusing on how to make the organization better versus making yourself better. Most organizations, people focus on making themselves better. They really do, and you've got to tolerate that because that's how they grew up. I mean, that's all they know. And, so as you set the example of, of making the organization better, and you can't shove anything in anybody's face, whether you're right or wrong. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the Army. It really doesn't. I mean, it works for the short time I got stripes or I got one more than you, but it really doesn't work because, it's going to catch up to you. But it's the same out there as working to make the organization better. And when the organization is better, the boss, when you work to make the organization better, the boss looks better. And I think most people appreciate that, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's not one piece of paper. It's not a 1-day thing. It's not a 1-week thing. It's how you carry yourself and demonstrate by actions that you're really working to make the organization better and not yourself better. It's the same thing in the Army. We all saw guys that, had to go to this school or that school or do this or hang around with this guy or that guy because they thought, they thought that's the things they had to do to get promoted. But, most everybody I know, I mean, you just did your job. Yeah. You did it the best you could. You helped those around you and people noticed and you got promoted because it wasn't about you. It was about making the organization better and treating people right. And again, it's not a short stint kind of thing. It's the way you have. That's the way you are all the time.
So with that, what would you advice would you give a guy that has a coworker or even a boss that is constantly failing but can ignore the problem somehow? What would you think about, like, how would you advise them in giving constructive criticism?
It depends on the personality. Some people can take constructive criticism. Quite frankly, most people can't. And you can
Yeah.
start with, no disrespect, or, this is, take this as the right way because I'm trying to help you better. Most people don't want to hear that because they got to a certain position by acting, the way they were. So now here are you, a subordinate, saying, no, you're failing. And they're thinking, in the back of their minds, they're not really thinking it, but they're thinking, no, I got in this position by acting this way. And now you're trying to tell me that I'm not doing very well. It's not going to work. I mean, it's not, because the demonstrated actions of the organization told him that the way he was acting, was something good. So again, I think it goes back to being a good soldier, to showing through your actions and how you can make things better. And by demonstrating your actions, I think, they want the organization to do better. And if you're making the organization do better, they're going to start asking you how to make things better. So I don't think you can approach them. I think you have to work hard. I think you have to be transparent. I think you have to demonstrate that you're working to make the organization better. They'll start seeing the results and they'll come ask you. So very, very, very seldom can you go to your boss and give him constructive criticism. It doesn't work. Because again, they're in that position, they're in that leadership, that organizational leadership position because they got their act in the way that they were. So, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to take that as constructive criticism. They're going to take that as, they want your job. So all you can do is work hard. They'll start noticing it. And then they'll come to you, asking how we can make the organization better. In reality, you're not going to be telling them how to make the organization better. You're going to be telling him how to be better without telling him that.
So just lead by example.
Yeah, exactly. It works out. It works out there, and it is lead by example. And everybody's judged by their actions. At the end of the day, not by what they say. They're judged by their actions. And again, that's why I'm not a believer on trying to give your boss constructive criticism. It doesn't work. And again, I guess for the third time, my dementia kicking back in. Because they got to that certain position acting that way, and they're not going to listen to you. They're going to be mad at you. And why would they change? Because acting that way got them to position A, B, and C. And they think acting that way is going to get them in position D. The only person they're going to listen to is their boss telling him you need to change. And most people are pretty good about talk to your boss and act one way around your boss and act differently, with inside your organization. And most organizations aren't, they don't have hot washes where the private can tell his squad leader how he screwed up on the objective, because that's expected, because it's about making the organization better. Don't work that way out there.
Well, and that's one of the things I hear from guys is they think they can give advice that management doesn't, their leadership does not want.
Yeah.
And that's
I
something.
think, and I think there's a little bit of jealousy because you're an Army guy and you're an Army guy and you've done some things that I've never done in most cases. And then there's also, and so I think there's sometimes there's a little bit of jealousy there because, people are always patting you on the back, thanking you for the service, blah, blah, blah. So in some people, I think that's the case, but the other thing is it's sort of the opposite. It's an Army guy. What do you know? What do you know? You didn't, where'd you get your degree from? How long have you been working here at this company? I think that's what goes through a lot of people's heads too. So I think it's one of those two things, whether it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. And because again, if you never served, I mean, my uncle, I had a niece ask me one time when I was going to make lieutenant. When was I ever going to get to be a drill sergeant? And again, I love those people and they love me and they respected me and supported me and, but they don't understand, you can't. So unless you've done it, it's not that something, I did something and you didn't, it's just, you can't understand it unless you've done it.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for your time. And like we always say, Rangers lead the way.
Yeah. Great session. Thanks, Ken. Great questions.
Thank you, Mike.